Hi everyone! It has been a long time since I filmed an update for you guys. So I'm going to be doing my birth story today, but I have to do a little bit of a backstory of the birth story. Because I told my daily vlogging channel what was going on, but I never got around to making a video about what was going on in the last couple weeks of my pregnancy on this channel. So I was told that my RH levels, I have RH negative blood, and my titers came back negative, I think, or too high or too low. I don't remember how it works. But basically, I have RH negative blood. He most likely, and he does, it was confirmed, has RH positive blood. So what they have to do is they have to monitor the baby to make sure that my blood is not attacking him and making him anemic. So after I got that news, we ended up having to go to the doctor twice a week. One was to the actual hospital that I go to get an ultrasound. And then a couple days after the ultrasound, I would go to my actual doctor where they would review the ultrasound and make sure that he was looking okay. So that went on for 2 weeks, and then they said that at 39 weeks they wanted to just induce me because there was no reason to have the risk anymore of him being anemic if they could just induce me, which I was fine with. I was induced with my first pregnancy, so it was totally fine with me. I wanted to go natural this time on my own, but it wasn't that big of a deal for me. So 39 weeks rolls around. 2 days after my son's birthday, December 6th, we go into the hospital. We left the house at about, I don't know, like 6:30 to get to the hospital, and we made it around 7. And I was at the hospital, you know, in my room for about an hour before they started my Pitocin. And it was really weird this time because I had already been through this. I had already had a baby, but it's like you're doing it for the first time all over again. It's really strange. And so I was freaking out, and I was really nervous. And at that point, at the point of getting the Pitocin, we still had not had a name picked out because I told you guys that we had changed it. Well, we had changed it again after changing it originally. So originally it was going to be Elijah. He was going to be an Eli. And then after that, we actually changed the name to Lincoln, which I still really like. But then it was between Lincoln and Harrison. And we eventually decided on Harrison. And to be honest, I was not very happy with the name at first. It was my husband's name pick. But now I think it really suits him. He really does look like a Harrison to me. So at that point, we still hadn't had a name picked out. So not only was I freaking out about the fact that I was going to have a baby, but I was freaking out at the fact that I was like, am I going to leave the hospital still not knowing what the heck my baby's name is? So we got put on Pitocin, and then I labored for, I don't know, probably like a good 6 hours or so, where my contractions were kind of going up. So my contractions were going up, and they were getting intense. Not feeling. I really didn't feel any pain from these ones, but as far as the monitor is concerned, you know, where it tracks it, they were going up and being really intense for like 5 minutes, and then I would not have any for like an hour, and then they'd go up, and then I'd have some for like half an hour, and then they would go down, and it was just really like this back and forth with my contractions. I was starting at this point to think that you know, sometimes when you get induced, it ends in a C-section because you just don't progress. And so at this point, I was kind of like, okay, I might get a C-section. I might not have this baby the way I planned to. I might, you know, not progress. And so I started to get a little bit worried. I still had not had the epidural at this point. I was about a 3 or 4 during this time. And then the nurses came in and they checked me, and I was almost a 5. She said I was still technically a 4, but I was close to being a 5. So she was like, hey, do you want to get your water broken? See if that helps progress anything? And I was like, sure. And it was interesting because the first time with my first pregnancy and delivery, by the time they had broken my water, I had already had the epidural, and so I was completely numb and didn't feel anything. So I was kind of excited this time, although the stick that they use to break your water is very scary looking. It doesn't really hurt. So for those of you first timers, it looks terrifying, but it doesn't hurt that bad. But I got to feel it this time. So they broke my water, and Oh my gosh. So when everyone tells you that it feels like you're peeing your pants, that's not what it feels like. It feels like I opened the plug on my bathtub and all the warm water in my bathtub came out, and it was like a lot too. I think that the amount of water in your little water sack or whatever varies, but I must have had a lot because there was a lot of fluid that came out. And then, just so you know, it keeps coming out for like, you know, half an hour or an hour after you get it broken. So every time that a contraction happens or you laugh or anything, you're leaking water still. It's crazy. So they broke my water, and then right after they broke my water, I was 5 centimeters directly. She said that I went from a 4 to a 5 after breaking my water. This is where the story starts getting really intense. So I know. Tell them your side. Tell them what was going on in there while this was happening. So I get my water broken. I'm at 5 centimeters, and then the contractions pick up instantly. They went from not really being there to holy crap, this hurts. It hurt so bad. So the contractions went up and they were hurting really bad, and at this point I literally went like 10 minutes dealing with these bad contractions, and I was like, bring me the epidural. So I'm having these really intense contractions. They bring me the epidural, and I get the epidural. So the epidural took about maybe 25 minutes to do, maybe half an hour. It could have been a little bit shorter than that, but it felt like it was a really long time. And it's actually funny, Harrison got the hiccups during my epidural. So not only am I dealing with the contractions, being in a hunched over position like this, because this is how you sit when you get your epidural, but then he got the hiccups. So it's funny to look back on now, but at the time I was like, this is the worst possible time for you to have the hiccups, oh my gosh. So I get the epidural. They check me after my epidural, and I'm at like, I think I was at a 6.5 or a 7. And then the contractions after my epidural start getting really, really intense, and I can still feel them because I specifically asked the epidural guy, I was like, I don't want to be so numb that I can't feel anything. I want to feel something. So he gave me like half of the dose. So it just kind of took the edge off. So the contractions were still really, really intense. And at this point, I was starting to feel a lot of pressure, a lot. And I never felt the pressure from my first pregnancy because, like I said, I was so numb with that pregnancy, the epidural, that I didn't feel anything. If someone had their hand on my leg, I didn't know it. That's how numb I was the first time. This time around, I would have known that you were touching my leg. So no cop and a feel over here. So I was feeling so much pressure, and I was like, I need to call a nurse in. So I called a nurse in, and at this point I was an 8. And so I went from a 4 to a 5, epidural happened, then I was at a 7, now I'm at an 8, and then she said that his breathing or his heartbeat was not doing what she wanted it to do. So during a contraction, their heart rate slows down, and then after the contraction is over, it speeds up again. The nurse was watching him for like a good 45 minutes, watching his heartbeat to make sure that it was doing what it was supposed to, because sometimes it would do what it was supposed to, and other times he seemed like he was kind of getting tired or distressed or whatever. So she was starting to get a little bit concerned, and she was like, well, I don't want you to labor too much longer, so let me just check you. And then this whole time I had been feeling a lot of pressure that entire time. So she goes, let me just check you, and then she checks me and I'm a 10. I went from a 5 to 10 centimeters in 45 minutes. So it was crazy. So they gather everyone in, they have everyone, there's like, I don't know, there's like at least 10 people in the room whenever you have a baby, just so you know, if you're a new timer, you're gonna have a lot of people in there. That's not even including the people that you want in there, like your husband or your partner or your mother or whatever, whoever's gonna be in there. So there's a lot of people in there. They're all doing their thing, getting ready, and I'm just like, okay, this is really happening. I'm freaking out with my husband. I'm like, oh, it's time. And then the lady goes, okay, let's do practice push. And then halfway through the practice push, she's like, stop. Don't push anymore, because my doctor wasn't there yet. So she's like, stop pushing, because your doctor's not here yet. My doctor walks in like a couple minutes later, and she's like, okay, let's have a baby. And she's all excited. And so I pushed once and then half of a push. So like 25 seconds of pushing, and Harrison was here. He just came right on out there. And actually, if you watch my birth footage, you see it. It happened really fast. But I cut out a part where the nurse comes in front of my camera and she's on the phone. She goes, well, actually, the doctor is available because she just pushed and then she just kind of shot the baby out. And that's exactly how it happened the first time around, too. I'm the kind of person who just kind of drops my babies out of me. I'm like, I don't want this anymore, take it. So then they go to have me cut the cord, and his cord is really short, and so I kind of had to like do it like this, and that's how Harrison was born. It was a very slow starting process, and then it was bang, 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 baby, here you go. It was very intense the whole time, but I would not have had it any other way. I loved the birthing experience. I'm the kind of person who I don't think I'm ever going to do it at home. I really like being in the hospital. The 3 days that they keep me in the hospital, I'm always like really, you know, I'm happy to be there. It's a time for me to bond with the baby and have just time with my husband and my babies. So I'm a big fan of the hospital experience, but I think this one is hungry. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. But that was the story of how Harrison was born and how, you know, everything went. Like I said, I would have liked to go into labor naturally, but it just didn't work out that way. It wasn't in the cards. And as far as my next pregnancy, if I ever have one, because we're kind of deciding whether or not we want to do that, which I can talk about in detail on my daily vlogging channel, because it pertains to a question I'm going to be answering tonight. Whether we have more, we're not really sure, but I'm going to also hope to go naturally. But also at the same time, I know that this will be a problem next time too. Most likely, like there's like a 90% chance, so I'll probably get induced the next time too. So, you know, it happens. At least I get a healthy baby boy afterwards, huh? Huh, Harrison? Can you say bye-bye? Say bye-bye. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. I'm also doing daily vlogs for those of you who don't know. The channel is called S2D Vlogs. S2 is in the number, D Vlogs. And I am 9 away from 100 subscribers. And once we reach 100 subscribers, me and my husband are going to do the couples yoga challenge, which we're both not very good at that stuff, so it should be pretty entertaining. So if you haven't already, go check out that channel, subscribe to this one, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! Bye! Bye-bye! 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 Oh, he's so mad. Okay. Bye!